Hey, I want to welcome everybody to Coastal Connection. Embrace the power. We have me and Mike G have online from Southern California. We have Anne-Marie Johnson, the actress from In Living Color, In the Heat of the Night, Jag in the studio. But we're not here today to talk about her acting career. We're here to talk about her documentary of Mankind Initiative, which is pretty cool initiative, because after we watched the documentary, it talks about, why shouldn't we shouldn't defund the police and different aspects of our social injustice issues that we've had, and then some things just about the human condition that we're dealing with. So, and no further ado, I just have my first question. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Hello.
How did you get into the project, the Mankind Initiative?
Well, first of all, hello, Mike. Hello, Vince.
Hello. Big fan. I'm a big fan from way back at Living Color. I'm gonna get you, sucker. This is a pleasure. This is a pleasure. I'm like, one more time, everybody. One more time. Sorry,
the pressure is on. Now I have to be funny.
We gotta be funny. We can't always be serious. Even when we're serious, we gotta be a little funny.
You better believe it. You got to find humor in everything. So many years ago, when I was the vice president of the Screen Actors Guild, a gentleman named Richard Steller came to me and said, listen, we need the help of the Screen Actors Guild because the long-term care facility that the Screen Actors Guild funds through our dues is closing the terminally ill wing of it. And we said, well, that can't happen because many of our performers and those in the industry will basically die without this wing being available to them. So I joined with Richard. We fought the good fight. We won. The long-term care facility was forced to remain open, and it is still open. So Richard and I decided, putting together our interests and our influence within the industry really benefited people that we won't know, we'll never know. It benefited their families. And we really got a lot of satisfaction out of it. So we said, let's continue this. So cut to a few years later, Richard created the Mankind Initiative. Our initial focus was to educate people about others through the arts, the spoken word, music, literature, to fill that gap, that disparity between cultures, and do it peacefully and with respect. So we'd done several projects, we had several symposiums, and then COVID hit. We were in the middle of planning this very large in-person project called Tears, the event against racism and stereotyping, because we wanted to bring the community together with the Los Angeles Police Department. And because my father was a former police officer and I've done other events with the LAPD, I produced a series of public service announcements for them a few years ago about pedestrian safety. They trusted me to create this event, knowing that I wasn't going to throw the LAPD under the bus, but I was also going to be very honest and upfront to find common ground. So it was really unheard of. The LAPD, I had full carte blanche with every division within the LAPD. And as I said, the pandemic hit. So we had to refocus and create a documentary, Social Distance. So the documentary, the 8-part series, we have one more episode to air. It's an 8-part series, and we did it all via Zoom. And what we did was we have different chapters of this series, this documentary, and we deal with all aspects of race, discrimination, community policing. The most recent episode focused on the psychological and mental and spiritual health of Black officers. No one's talking about that. They're only talking about, our lives only matter if we're killed by white people, which is a disconnect, which is a false narrative. Lives should matter regardless. So one of our episodes specifically deals with Black Lives Matter and how that message distracted us from what was actually going on. And it's been a very successful series. A lot of great feedback. The LAPD was very pleased, but also not so pleased. So that's when you know you've done a good job. But we had full participation of the Chief of Police, Mike Moore. I also interviewed the former Chief of Police, Charlie Beck, and that'll be airing in 2022. So it's been a very challenging series that we've worked on for over a year, and it's been great.
So the series, the question, what would you say the highlights are and your most low points? Like, man, is this going to work? Is this going to, it's like things like this is hard to put together. Like putting together the pieces. What was the most challenging throughout the whole project?
The most challenging part, in a positive way, was dealing with organizations that were anti-police. We needed to get a balanced voice, right? It just couldn't be talking to law enforcement. It had to be talking to those who did not support law enforcement. And the most difficult time we ever had was with Black Lives Matter. We had terrific interviews with key figures of Black Lives Matter. And then in the 11th hour, when they knew that we also interviewed members of the highest ranking members of the LAPD, Black Lives Matter pulled out. They said, we want nothing to do with your show. We don't want to be on the same stage with the LAPD. The LAPD are murderers. We don't participate with murderers. They went after me on social media saying I had blood on my hands because my father was a police officer. They said I was a liar and, almost like an Uncle Tom. It was really, I got more grief from my own than I did from the enemy, which I thought was really fascinating. Fortunately, we were able to pivot really well, and we were able to find other organizations and other individuals who've been exceedingly critical of the LAPD, and they had absolutely no problem having the conversation. And it was fascinating. So in a way, it was a gift because we felt hamstrung by Black Lives Matter because they had so many rules and regulations. And we were able to just find other people who had similar opinions, but who were much more graceful and gracious and wanting to face forward with those that they disagreed with. So that I think it was the most difficult, but definitely it was a gift. When the doors closed, many doors opened. So that was a gift.
And I got a question for you. So when you look at the media, right, and the way the social media has changed America, because, I'm not dating us in age and everything, but, in most geographical areas in the United States, most people didn't know what was happening on the other side of town unless it was on the CBS News or whatever with Walter Cronkite. But now, with social media being so powerful and the impact as you did this project, I wonder what impact it really had from a standpoint of how you guys looked at it, from what lens or the kaleidoscope of different avenues you had to attack. Because the problem is that as soon as you put an episode out, social media goes haywire, and then you're having to try to do some kind of, mitigations depending on what the verbiage is being put out. So could you kind of touch on how media impacted your project?
Well, it's a love-hate relationship. Because I've been in the media for 3 decades, I really don't care about social media. I don't care about comments. I care about the positive comments, but I don't participate. I don't have Instagram. I refuse to participate on Facebook because I think Mark Zuckerberg is responsible for the decline of the American empire, and he's responsible for the insurrection. He's responsible for our former president. Mark Zuckerberg does not care about the well-being of America. He is purely about profit only. He is more dangerous than any other individual we've dealt with in the 21st century. And that it became quite evident when he allowed vicious race baiting, gender baiting, homophobic, transphobic, Asian hating. He was the arbiter and the coordinator of some of the most hateful, vile propaganda since Nazi Germany. And the fact that this country sat back and let him do it, and it was purely based on profit, we will, I don't think you and I don't think the three of us will ever outlive the scars that Facebook and other social media outlets have allowed to permeate our psyche. So I really could care less about social media, but unfortunately, it is the devil's tool, and we need it for our careers. But I only paid attention to the positive. I didn't dwell on the negative, and I used it for positive purposes. But if I had my druthers, I would get rid of all forms of social media that promulgates hate and lies. And unfortunately, that's why we have a pandemic. That's why we have almost 800,000 people dead in this country, because of social media.
I gotta give it to you. I agree. I think that Facebook's a little drug addiction. I think all of it is just, it's just a little craziness, and it fuels the mind. You see, that's why they call it the television. Tell the vision.
That's
it's
right.
just
It
feels, and now you're telling it nonstop. It's here, it's there, it's right here, it's right here, and it's just a drug.
And our former president,
I
the
agree.
only thing he got right, even though he bastardized it, was fake news. So I'm not saying that news is fake. What I'm saying is that networks that supposedly report the news 24/7 don't care about what they're reporting. All they care about is content, because they have to fulfill their stockholders. So it's 24 hours a day, and they have to fill it with something. So 99% of it is a waste of time. And that's kind of when I think, I kind of do miss the days of network news was a half hour. It was, depending on where you lived, it was from 6 to 6:30, and you got it, that was done, and then you went on with your day.
And and the one thing I want to ask is, since you worked on this project and you've dealt with the media, and I love how you just broke down on the media, how because I just see it all the time. The 24-hour loop.
Remember when breaking news was a plane crashing?
Absolutely. Now no more. It's everything. So, what was your takeaway from doing this project and this initiative? What was your big takeaway that you wanted to make an impact, a positive impact on society? So with all these episodes, with everything of trying to bring awareness, you personally, what did you learn? What did you, what biases did you have prior going in that you kind of changed as you went through the process? And did you evolve as you did this project?
Because I've always been involved with social justice, there was no epiphany for me. Some opinions were strengthened. Other opinions were maybe put to the side so I could use my listening ears when I was talking to such a wide variety. I mean, we had one episode that dealt with faith and community policing. So that was a very informative, that episode about how God plays a part, how our faith, if you are one who believes, how faith plays a part. We also spoke to a lot of high profile performers, many of them African-American, some of them who were white. And it was quite an awakening for our white high pros to have an honest conversation about race, because usually, white people don't necessarily have a calm, discussion about racism and systemic racism in this country with people of color. They may have it amongst themselves, or they may feel like, oh, I've been educated because I have a Black Lives Matter poster on my front window. But that's all nice and neat, you know. Oh, okay, I'm done with what I need to do because I'm with the people. Well, that was more enlightening for them to feel comfortable enough to have a true conversation about racism. So that was really enlightening. What I learned was the pain that we all experience when we see people of color being unjustly treated and harmed and even killed by those wearing the shield. But you also have to realize that the other side is just as painful when we see law enforcement officers, the people who run into a dangerous situation, risking their lives and the treatment that they receive. We just have to do a better job all the way around. We just have to. And we as African Americans also have to have that honest conversation amongst ourselves, which we refuse to have. It's too uncomfortable. It's a generationally uncomfortable conversation. And until we get our house straight, how do we expect any white person to give a crap about us?
I'm going to touch on that because Mike, you got it after this, but I'm sorry. But, I default back to, Malcolm X when he clearly stated that you have to fix your own community. And when you care about your own community, then you should not expect someone, you shouldn't expect somebody to fix your community when it's your responsibility to do it yourself. We have so long neglected our own community and want to look for a sounding board or someone else to blame. And I really say that, and everybody uses everything from the structure of the United States since Reconstruction, of the policies and everything. But it doesn't take a lot to take care of your house. It doesn't take a lot to cut your lawn. It doesn't take a lot not to harm people in your neighborhood. It doesn't take a lot to just do the right thing. So when I'm talking about there may be financial challenges, but we also need to accept that there's some things that they're just humankind things we need to do within our own community.
I think what we've done, listen, there is absolutely no doubt that from 1619 to today, there are psychological scars, deep wounds that are gaping holes in our American psyche as African Americans because of slavery, because of Jim Crow, because of every aspect since 1619. We are damaged goods. The fact that we haven't blown up the world is a miracle. When you think about it, the fact that we collectively didn't go Nate Turner and just go, okay, we're done, this is it, is really, I think, a testimony to our internal faith. I think as a culture, just like other cultures, but in America as a culture, African Americans are very spiritual. We walk a very fine line of being secular, but also very spiritual. And I think that's what's kept a cover on our temperament. But then there is a population that still feels within the African American community that not enough has been done. And in actuality, not enough has been done. It just hasn't been done. The continual promulgation and spread of racism is with us every day. But we still have to have that honest conversation of, why are we killing each other? Why are we harming each other?
I agree.
Why are we breaking into our own businesses? Why are we leaving our own women and creating a generational single parenthood? It's not working. It's not working. At some point, we have ourselves to blame. And that is the honest conversation we must have, keeping in mind that there are generational, psychological, emotional, and spiritual wounds because of slavery.
Wow.
So that is true. Very good. That was very nice. Do you think there's progress? Because I've seen this. I'm 44. I've seen a few things. I'm not in the 60s. I'm a 70s baby. Do you think there's progress right now, or you think we're building with the parades and this what you have here? Do you see any progress at all? Because we're doing the same thing. It's like it's okay. The parades are rioting and doing this and doing this.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's
I
working.
see progress every day.
Okay,
We'd be lying if we said, nah, nothing has changed. Well, that's comfortable for people. That's like a crutch. Nothing has changed, so therefore I don't need to do better. We have to realize that African Americans have been here for a little smidgen amount of time. When you put it all together, considering what we came from, we were torn from our motherland and stripped of all of our culture and lied to and raped and beaten and lynched and burned down and assassinated, and yet still we rise. So we have an amazing history of achievements from the very beginning to now Kamala Harris, right? So we have incredible achievements. So anyone who said we haven't done better is using that as a crutch. But we can do so much more internally. We can be responsible for so much more. And that's the disconnect. I think that is the disconnect.
Well, I wanted to show this clip from your website. I think we should do that. And which I like the way your message is. So we're going to show this clip here. 1 minute, let me load it up, guys. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Anne-Marie. Great appreciation. Let's check it out. Boom. I'm going to blow it up here, Vince. What do you think? Yeah. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Anne-Marie Johnson, and welcome to Tears, the event against racism and stereotyping. For the next 30 minutes, we'll introduce you to 3 law enforcement officers who have a lot in common. They've all dedicated their professional careers to serve and protect. They all hold high positions within a police department. And most importantly, all 3 are African American. Although much has been said about law enforcement officers in general, what hasn't been discussed, especially during the last few years, is why hundreds of African American men and women, considering the practice of systemic racism in some police departments, still pursue a career in law enforcement. In this episode, LAPD Deputy Chief Regina Scott, Deputy Chief Amada Tingarides. These are the first African American women appointed to these positions, and Captain Aaron McCraney, who oversees LAPD's recruitment and employment division, share their thoughts, concerns, and goals regarding law enforcement and what's it like being an African American police officer. I think you'll find this conversation candid, honest, but also encouraging. And now, Tears, the event against racism and stereotyping, part 4, wearing the blue while black.
That was nice. That was very good. Good work. Great introduction. It was straight to the point. Clarity. It was nice. Right? And you guys are just touching bases. I mean, what I've seen so far, I haven't seen a document yet. A documentary. I gotta see it. But the little ones, it's like straight to the point. It's like, come on, guys, let's all gather up. If I may ask, how did you get your team together? Did it take years?
It is a small yet nimble production crew. There are about 4 of us.
Nimble's good.
And we were able to pull it off. I mean, we were able to do it. And along with that program, we also handle a homeless food distribution program simultaneously. So we deal with those who are homeless, which that's another conversation that needs to be had. But we concentrate, obviously, those who are homeless here in the Southern California community. And we are part of a program that distributes EDARs, which stands for Everyone Deserves a Roof. and they are mobile. They're tents on wheels, and they have a locked storage facility, and they have a mattress, and all very safe and secure. And people are able to shelter in place, literally, and be off the streets. And so that's and we have COVID kindness bags, which are filled with food, sustainable products, and sanitary products to help stave off the pandemic within the homeless community. So we do both Tears and our homeless project simultaneously.
Hey, and you're doing so many initiatives, and you worked on so many things, and and you've been around a while like I have. So the thing is, when it comes to community leaders, you just don't see the profound community leaders out there anymore, beating the pavement, trying to make a difference unless there's a situation. But it needs to be an everyday fight to bring balance, and it starts at the elementary school level, all the way through college and into the community. And before, I think in the 60s and the late 70s, early 70s, we actually had really strong activists, but they had a positive message. Hollywood and some of these industries have turned the African American community into a money-making business, and the videos, and I'm not going to get into any personal videos, so I'll get sued here, but videos and professing being single and just doing whatever you want has kind of contributed to some of the issues that we have within our society. But I don't see any profound leaders within the African American community standing up and saying, hey guys, enough of this, we need to go a different direction. And why is that, do you think?
They're there, they just don't get the airtime. They're there, they haven't gone anywhere. But the powers that be within basic cable and social media and regular news find no interest in promoting. There's a wonderful nonprofit called Create the Change, CRE8, the number 8, change. And they deal with systemic racism. They deal with the conflict within the African American community and other minority communities, and some in law enforcement. They march, they have protests, but you see, they're respectful. They are they support one-on-one conversations without shouting you down. They won't protest at your home to make you feel unsafe, but they get absolutely no airtime because they're not exciting, they're not controversial, they're not pushing the appropriate buttons to be newsworthy. So to answer your question, the advocates are out there. It's just that the noise and the violence and the rhetoric and the profanity and the provocateurs and the Tavises in the world get the airtime, but not those who are fighting the good fight and making a difference and dedicating their lives, but doing it in a way that isn't exciting enough for the TikTok consumer.
So,
the TikTok. Oh man, I don't like TikTok. It's like annoying. I'm with it with Facebook. Oh, Jesus. Anyway,
they're all the
besides
same.
the point, they're all the same.
They're all the same. They're all created by the same type of man. Sorry, guys, but these are all created by the same type of I don't know, man who wants to make a lot of money.
So, and you're spot on that we have all these different issues that comes with social media. It comes with not media itself, but different platforms that approach our youngsters, be it video games, be it Hollywood, be it whatever. And we talk about always being positive. So as we wind down the show here, and I first and foremost, me and Mike definitely want to say we appreciate you taking the time after church to come in and talk to us. And definitely you are never filtered, and which makes it realistic and live, and I love it. But if you had any encouragement or anything that you take away from your project that you would like to share with the audience, please share it now. I really appreciate it.
I just think, first of all, it's it's made to be viewed, meaning it can be viewed by an entire family in one sitting. We tried to keep it very honest. We tried to keep it current, but we also tried to keep it respectful. So we are sending it to schools so students can watch it in class and have discussions after. The episodes are tightly produced. They're about 28 minutes to 35 minutes, depending. And it always has a message. It has a call to action. It has roads for conversation. We tried to stay as current as possible. And I just encourage people to watch it with their family members, and feel comfortable talking about systemic racism. We have to feel comfortable talking about it, admitting that it still exists in all aspects of life. Until and unless we have a continued dialogue about it, it'll never go away. And it's not just about the evil white person. It's about all of us who have a conscious bias, and we have to deal with it.
Spot on. Hey, definitely. Hey, Mike, you got anything closing out before we close out today?
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I'm promoting your stuff out there, and I wish I can't wait for your project to expand more, because you're not going to stop. You're straight to the point, and it's been a pleasure meeting you. First of all, I've been a long time fan, and I didn't believe Vince in the beginning. I'm like, yeah. That's so sweet. I'm just gonna, but then I'm like, But it was good. It was good, and I thank you. I thank you for your time, and I'm gonna look into more, and hopefully I can follow you now in your progress, and we're on your side.
Thank you. So, and thanks for the time. I mean, usually I only talk about acting projects, which is great. I mean, listen.
Next show.
Yeah, right. I love my career and what my career has afforded me, but there are much more important things dealing right now. And if I could add, please, everyone, if you want to be able to return to some semblance of a life, you've got to get vaccinated. You've got to get your booster shot. You have got to continue to wear a mask, because this is not made up. It's not a joke. It's not a conspiracy. It is real.
Oh, awesome. Hey, so, and with that being said, as we always say when you come on Coastal Connection, make sure you tell my boy Gray I said hey, since you don't let it bring him around. But most importantly, before we leave the show, me and Mike always tell our guests, keep it rolling. Thank you.
Back to the next one.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye, Ann. That was good, man.